pretty good one here. This is what you want to avoid in your pumpkin. Big rotten spot. Okay, these are the basic supplies I would use in painting a pumpkin face. You need 3 colors of acrylic, black, red, and white. A couple of good brushes, flat brushes with a good sharp edge on it. Paper towels, something to hold water, and palette. Hair dryer so you can dry the paint as you paint on the pumpkin, and it makes the process go faster. And of course you need a pumpkin. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a look at this pumpkin and try to determine which side of the pumpkin would be the best to paint a face on. Like usually these things lay on the ground and you have a really rough side like this, so you might want to avoid that. So I'm going to turn this around, and this seems like a good, it's kind of flat, there's not a lot of deep ridges in it, has a good smooth surface. So now that I've got this figured out, I'm going to take my paint container palette here for my acrylic paint. This has the water for the acrylic and the 3 colors, black, red, and white. So I'll put a little black paint on it. And what I'm going to do is just start with the eyes and all the outlines for the nose, the eyes, and the mouth. And then once that's to where I like it, I will dry that off with a hair dryer and then move on to the next step. Okay, now that the first step of painting the black outlines is finished, you want to, before you proceed, make sure you dry the paint. And I use this hair dryer here to do that. Okay, so the next step is the tongue. I'm going to clean the brush off a little bit. And I'm using just a medium cadmium red acrylic here on this. A little bit on the brush, and you just kind of want to make the tongue look like it's laughing. And then to get that tongue shape, put a couple of little highlights of red here and here like this. Okay, now that the tongue is in there, the next step would be to paint in all the white parts. Paint in the eyes, some highlights on the nose, any other highlights you might think you want. This is where you'd paint the teeth in, and a few highlights on the lower lip here. And before you do that, I would really recommend cleaning out your brushes, because you're going to have some red and black in there, and with painting the white it'll pick that up definitely. So I'm going to go wash these brushes out and then go to the white paint. Okay, now it's time for the white. I'm going to use the larger brush for these larger areas here, just for fill in. And then go to the smaller brush. A little more detailed. Okay, now that the eyes are painted, the next step that I would do would be the teeth, and then some of the highlights. I use the smaller brush for the teeth. So you just kind of pick a good place there. The teeth are always kind of wild looking. They don't have to be perfect. Just kind of rough and jaggedy is good for a Halloween pumpkin. Okay, so now that I got the basic outlines of the teeth in, I'm going to put some highlights around. I like to put a highlight on this side of the nose here. Okay, now that the highlights are on there, what I want to do next is make sure everything's good and dry before the next step. Okay, now I got the smaller brush, and what I'm going to do now is paint in some of the finer detail, like the eyeballs, some cracks in the teeth, and some lines down here. This is probably the most critical part of the pumpkin face here, is actually putting in the round part of the eyeballs here and where you want to put them. So you just kind of let the brush flow out like that. Okay, that looks alright. So now what I like to do is put some character lines in these teeth here, like they're cracked, beat up. Needs dental service. Sometimes I like to put a shadow down here. Kind of gives it that, put the shadow here, it gives it a little bit of a dimension look to it. Okay, now the very last couple things you want to do is put the highlights on the eyeballs here with the white, and then maybe clean up some of the teeth or some of the other whites. So got a clean small brush. And just come on here and put a little highlight on each eye where you think it looks good. Okay folks, that about wraps it up, and I hope you have a happy Halloween.